I am really enjoying the discussion that we're having here. There's things to learn, and I have to say that doing research as we go and trying to follow the conversation, it's still going, but really appreciate the Justice Minister. We all know that. We all want to improve the safety on our roads. That's what this is about. And so I hope as I discuss it that that's the spirit where it goes forward, because we just want the legislation that's going to serve Alberta's interests best. But the one thing that I'm still a little bit caught off on is the number of times that both ministers have mentioned that this has been going on for 3 or 4 years. I don't know, maybe I disconnected on this, but boy, I don't remember any discussion on this going to the public and talking about this like I do, the Land Assembly Act and the transmission lines and the water. I mean, lots of those things I saw going around. I don't ever remember seeing them going around talking about lowering the drinking level from 0.08 to 0.05, but don't know. I haven't seen that discussion with the public, though you're saying that it's been in cabinet, and I certainly missed it. If any of the leadership candidates talked about this, somehow I missed that when you guys were selecting a new leader, and I certainly don't remember her making a promise that if I get in as Justice Minister, this has been a big issue for 3 or 4 years, and so boom. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I am a little bit concerned, and the Minister of Transportation says, oh no, we're not changing anything. Just, this is a major change. I think that if I was owning a restaurant that served alcohol, I would be pretty nervous, and I've got an awful lot of letters from those people. And again, the Honourable Member from Edmonton Centre brings up what I think is a very valid question. Why such fast implementation of this bill when you've got bills that you've never even declared, and some of them about child safety, safe community, the mandatory reporting of child pornography haven't even been implemented, which are critical to the safety of our children. And so I just don't quite understand the motive by saying this has to happen so far. But to switch gears for a minute on the positive side, though, is that I'm thrilled with the ignition interlock. And again, I'm going to take issue that when you say things have been reduced by 40%, I don't drink, so I'm safe. But I would think that if I was a drinker and I knew that there's going to be an interlock on my vehicle, that has bite. That has a problem. And so to say that, the reason why the bite is because we got a 3-day suspension, I think if you were to bring this forward in steps, we'd find out where the bigger bite is. But to have the bite, and this is where I think the bite needs to be, is the 0.08. Because those people, literally, and no pun intended, they've got away with murder. It's illegal, and we have people that have killed others, and they get a slap on the wrist. They're back to work. And so that's where the bite needs to be, and I'm grateful for the ignition interlock. I think, yes, this is something that we can go ahead with. And it serves 2 purposes why I really like the ignition interlock. If you are a chronic drinker and you've been caught and you have that on your vehicle, you don't lose that privilege to drive the times when you need it. But you've lost that ability to go and get plastered and get in your vehicle and go home and jeopardize people's lives. And so I think it's a great solution. And like I say, I applaud you on bringing that forward and making it tough. It's the repeat offenders. And again, I love doing the math too. I love looking at that and seeing it. I use the analogy that if I was to throw a bag of coins on the ground here, though, and I have, let's say, I don't know, 1,800 pennies and 18 gold coins, 1-ounce gold coins, which ones are we going to go after? To me, I'm going to go after those gold coins. And to me, those drunk repeat offenders, those are the ones where the statistics are where more people get hurt. We keep talking about these people from 0.05 to 0.08 and talk like that's where the real significant problem is. And I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in the stats, in the numbers. The real problem is actually those people that haven't had any drinks, but they're causing 60% of the fatalities. What are they doing? Is it cell phone? I mean, we brought in that bill. Here it is. We're going to ban handheld cell phones. And again, I question that one, because I don't think that we drive any better when we're talking hands-free than we do whether we've got a cell phone in our hand. And so I think, again, we've got a red herring there saying, oh, we've passed these laws and now we're going to be safe when we haven't. I'm also very concerned, and I spoke the other day about this, is that we seem to be thinking that the real important thing to do is to be watching for people that are driving, and heavens forbid they don't have their seatbelt on. Like that is a menace on the road. That's about personal safety. That's about, the cost of our health care. I understand that, but the police seem to be focused.
If you get up and debate.
Yeah. The point is that what we want to focus on is those repeat offenders. We want to focus on those areas where we know people are drinking and they're coming out, whether it's a football game tonight. Is there going to be a check stop up tonight after the Oilers game? Really? And you don't think they drink? I talked to an individual tonight who's going there, who's planning on getting drunk. And I said, how are you getting home? I was taking the next step. Sorry that I try to contract because we don't have a lot of time, and I thought you could follow me on that step. But is there going to be? Oh no, we can talk all night about these things, and if they want to sidetrack me, I'm happy to go sidetrack. We'll come back to it. But how many check stops? And again, with the numbers, tell me how many check stops, how many nights, and under what events have we set up to change the thinking of drivers? I don't know that we're really addressing that. What we're kind of doing is setting them up at random and hoping to catch some of those 42,000 when in fact we know where a lot of those problems are, but we don't go and focus in that area and say let's zone in on these football games, let's zone in on a hockey game, let's zone in on the bars on the weekends, if that's the problem, what we're after. But again, what I want to stress the most is we're changing several penalties here, or sanctions, and now we're going to jump to this conclusion that, it's 40%. And I find it quite fascinating that we know the number of deaths in Alberta, but in BC, and again, this is where statistics are always fun, and we use them to spin our little side, it's a 40% reduction. Well, how many? We don't know, but it's a 40% reduction. And I'd like to know the actual numbers. I mean, it drives me crazy when you listen to the people promoting the stock market or something that says, it's down 30 or up 30. Just tell me where it is. Is oil at 97.50? I'll remember that for the next day. But to say, it's down $3 and you've missed it for 3 days, it's not significant. Maybe it went up to 110 and now it's 107 and you're doing great. And it's the same with these things. Let's just actually use the numbers and not the percentages. When people use percentages, usually to me there's a reason that they're trying to protect their position and showing this huge move when in fact it isn't. You know what? If they had 100 or if they had 10 people last year that they caught and now it's down to 6, that's a 40% reduction, but they only changed 4. Why wouldn't they say that we reduced them by 4? Because it doesn't sound very impressive. So we definitely have some struggles there. Small businesses. I think one of the important things that we need to do is respect the rule of law and not having it all of a sudden changed in a short notice. The businesses know that it's 0.08. Albertans know that that's the legal, where you're legally impaired is 0.08. And again, I'll ask that maybe one of the two ministers can answer this, because again, I don't have a lot of experience in this area. But my understanding is that if you are stopped at a roadside check stop and you blow, let's say it's 0.06, that I thought that the officers at this point had the discretion to bring someone out and walk the line, touch your nose, and they actually do an impaired assessment to see whether or not a person is impaired, and then they would give a 24-hour freeze on the vehicle. But I don't know. If someone could elaborate on that, I would appreciate, because I think there's a big change in that, where now, if you 0.05, it's going to be a 3-day suspension of your license and your vehicle, and I think that's very different And that's going to have, where I think, the biggest difference on those restaurants and bars where people before felt safe. They could go, they could have one drink, two drinks over a couple hours, have a visit with their colleagues, go home from work, and they weren't intoxicated. They were able to drive safely. And so, I don't know, I'd like a little bit more information on that if that would be possible. Sorry, I just got to go over my notes a little bit here as well. I would really like, we have the numbers, and again, sometimes we're reading, so I don't always get them correctly, but was it 42,000 roughly, 41,466, I guess. If I don't use the right numbers, you'll say I wasn't listening. That those were actual ones that got caught, went through the process, and were guilty in Alberta last year. Was it 41,466 that were charged and convictions? Thank you. That's, yes, okay.
And then there was 7,700 suspensions.
Yes, which I think there's that's interesting to me, the difference in the numbers there. That, well, it's such a small amount, 7,500. That's less than 7% of the people.
1,466 convictions in 5 years.
In 5 years? That's not in 1 year?
5 years.
Oh, okay. See, that's what I've missed.
Okay, and 42,762 suspensions, 24-hour suspensions in 5 years.
Thank you.
Last year was the 756.
7,500.
7,756 suspensions and 8,500 and something compared.
Okay, thank you. Because I thought that you were saying that was per year. I thought, wow, that's a big jump in numbers there. Now that makes a little more sense to me. Thanks for clarifying that. That again, I guess what I'm most pleased about this bill is what we're doing with the ignition interlock. I really think that we need to focus on that. I'd love to see that's where we hit and focus and move a bill that's in that area. And at this point, and again, the honourable member from Edmonton Centre, I couldn't agree with her more on the timing and what I want to call is the lead time to say, you know what, in 6 months we're going to implement this and let people kind of adjust to this. I think there's going to be a boom in the business of selling those little $5 blowers so Albertans can get educated. And I think Albertans will go out and get educated. But let's give them a little bit of time. We always have that leeway in so many of the bills that we change. The cell phone ban, I think there was a 6-month time before we implemented that. And then they gave warnings, I think, for the first month after that. And yet it seems like this isn't going to be such. And those other ones, all that was a $150 fine or something. Here we're talking the fact that you're going to lose your license, you're going to lose your vehicle. And I really think, in all fairness, that a work-in time, well, no, but I said you lose your license and you lose your vehicle. I think, in all fairness, there should be a little bit of time for people to adapt and not just immediately slap this down. And again, I want to go back and reiterate, absolutely. Do we want impaired people on the road? No. And with the comments and the evidence and the reports that the government is talking about, I have to ask the question, are they doing research at lowering the legal limit to 0.05 federally? Are you pushing? I mean, you talk about all the discussion you've been having. Is there a discussion at the federal level of changing it to 0.05? I'd like to know, because I don't think that we're in the know of these discussions that you say you're having for 2 or 3 years. And if you're having these things, it just seems to make sense to me that federally we should be looking at changing that. And again, I can't help but think that, if it's zero tolerance that we want, then why aren't we passing a zero tolerance law and just going to that leap, or say that, look, this is going to be staged, for 6 months. We're going to have leeway, then it's going to be 0.05, and then from 0.05 we're going to go to zero tolerance. And if you're caught with blood alcohol level, you're not going to have the privilege of driving. And then we get to the anomaly of those people with, whether it's Heliobacter or something in their stomach and producing that, or yeast. What are the anomalies and the percentages of individuals, whether they're on cough medicine or those other areas? Is there a crossover on that? And the minister's smiling over there. I'm sorry I don't have experience or time to research these things. No, I'm asking the question. You're the ones with the junk science. You're passing the legislation. Junk. Unbelievable.
Or speak through the chair.
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chair.
David, get up and speak.
Appreciate the redirection on that.
Tell the minister to get up and speak.
Anyways, I guess I'll wait to hear a few of the responses on that, and we can continue with this dialogue and hopefully pass the best bill possible here in the next few days.